So I made a mistake. This is actually fine with all caps here. That's not a problem. I don't think it would have worked with lowercase. So make sure that you have that nice and green or whatever color your IDE has that set up as. But here's the deal. I was actually sort of doing the right thing, and the code was fine. I didn't have to change anything. But what I did wrong, actually, I'm going to change this to uppercase just to make it more obvious. To uppercase. But now let's refresh. We're all happy. I'm going to take this and copy it. There you go. Now you got a clipboard event. Something happened. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of this stuff and put it here. Ah! And now it's yelling at me, right? And so it actually took what I put in there and formatted it for me. It took the clipboard event and made it into a string and sent it back right there in all uppercase, right? So, very nice. There you go. So that's how that worked. Now, okay, shush, you're fine. What I want to talk about one last thing is what is the DOM. And so the DOM is the document object model, right? So think you have a document. That would be your HTML is your document. And then there's objects on the document, okay? And the way this way of thinking about a document, about your HTML, is called the document object model, right? So you have your document is a model, or is an object, right? And it's got all this other stuff inside of it. But you could also take the element title, right? And it has attributes as well, like the text for my title, okay? So on and so forth. And so what we're doing here is we're targeting different objects using JavaScript, and that's what is the DOM. That's what that's called. This will come back in super useful for React, how we're able to target these things and change them. React is super heavily interested in the DOM and what's going on there. But that's essentially what the DOM is. When we talk about, the DOM, right? We're talking about all the different parts of your document, right? And the ability to target them and change them one at a time, okay? So the other interesting thing is, imagine for a moment, this is not a lot of HTML, right? It does not take a whole lot of computer juice for it to crank through this. Now, as I'm messing around with this JavaScript, right, and I say, hey, this thing is weird, right? Change it, okay? We're going to change it to something else, right? So we're talking about our, look at this color change function here, okay? What happens when we target this color button thing, okay, whatever this might be, and in this case, it is our color button right there, our button, okay? We're going to target that, and when it's clicked, we're going to change the H1. Now, here's my question for you. Are we changing just the H1, or are we rewriting the entire HTML document top to bottom all over again? Okay? And the answer to that is we are, in fact, actually writing this whole thing every time we change something on our HTML. So when we're hanging out over here and I do this, okay, I've actually changed and re-rendered this entire page. Now, you can imagine that for 30, 40 lines of HTML, that's not that big of a deal. When you're trying to do this with entire websites and there's functions attached to things and each function has all this, like there's going to be a lot of stuff to it, and it's eventually going to slow back down, okay? When you have lots of stuff going on and your computer has to take care of lots of things, it's going to run more slowly. Well, we're going to get to React next week, but one of the things that React does is it makes what's called a virtual DOM. And we'll review this later as well, but the virtual DOM essentially says, I'm going to have the original DOM, okay, which is the original HTML, the original way everything was arranged. But then I'm going to keep another one in memory, right? We talk about speed versus memory, okay? What React does, it says, I'm going to hold another one in memory, and that's going to be the virtual DOM. And instead of re-rendering the entire thing, if you change one of those attributes, okay, one object from the DOM, okay, so if you end up changing this H1, I'm going to compare it to the original and only update this one thing. That way we don't have to rewrite the entire original every single time, or write the entire HTML piece every single time, okay? And that ends up actually being a much faster and much smoother way of running our websites, thanks to React. So again, this is good. This is fine. If you want to make websites using just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just realize that as your websites grow, as they become more complex, as you want them to be able to do more stuff and display more things and interact with users in a lot of ways, it will eventually get pretty heady to try and re-render the entire thing every single time that they interact with the page. So, but that is the DOM. That's how that works, right? And you can see there's other examples of this. I don't like that one. That was gross. Whatever. It's too small. Why are you so mean to me? Whatever. This will work. Okay. So you got your links. You got your form with all sorts of different things inside the form. You got your option. Right. There's all this other stuff that's going on in there. This one's probably my favorite one, where you can see each element or each aspect of this. Right. And you can target the root element. You can target the elements themselves or the text inside, the attributes. All these different kinds of things like this, those are all parts of what we can change using the DOM, and that is what that is. So hopefully that helped, and now you should be able to have your little copy paste thing working. We had it to lowercase earlier, so it wasn't screaming at our users, but you did need to actually have the clipboard event capitalized, because that is a actual JavaScript background thing. And you might be wondering too, hey, where am I going to actually like learn all these things, right? Is there like a book where I can just read through all these? And that's not really necessarily the case. Realistically, if you were trying to say, hey, how do I interact with the clipboard in JavaScript, you would just Google that, right? And you say, oh, that's how I use that. And then you'd be moving these data pieces around. Again, we're giving you practice. You know, you log the event, you take the event and do other stuff. You know, like there's all these kinds of things that you'll learn to do over time, but you're going to Google for new functions, new stuff. This is far from exhaustive for JavaScript, and we don't market this as an exhaustive course. That's not the point. The point is to get you from 0 to walking pace, right? Where you're actually able to do some of this stuff, follow along with it, write some of your own. But you're going to have to Google a lot of things, and so this would be one of those things where I certainly would have to Google, how do I handle a clipboard thing? And that is normal, and it's okay. So that's part of growth. That's part of learning how to code, Googling things and not knowing things and discovering things that are new and then using them well. That is the coder way. All right. Anyways, I've rambled long enough. That's the DOM, and that's how to get our copy paste thing to work. So hope that helps. I'll see you for more JavaScript in the next video.